if you are working over the August bank holiday in our community teams or on an inpatient basis or in any role, including the on-call leadership teams, thanks ever so much, particularly for your service. I was going to start with our clinical leadership executive, and you'll remember that this is the principal decision-making body of the organisation outside of the board of directors. And every month we have our discussions and we explore either things that have gone perhaps a little wrong, things that are going really well in our organisation, but particularly decisions we need to make about the future. And I was just going to pick up 3 or 4 from the last meeting that we had, whilst also recognising the diversity of background, profession, and so on of those who serve with me on the clinical leadership executive. So importantly, we had a fairly detailed think about the future of remote working in our organisation over the next 3 or 4 years. It's a really important issue for lots of people who work within Ardash when they're thinking about balancing work life and home. Also really important issue for line managers when they're trying to make sure that we've got the flexibility to cover and provide services. But finally, it's a big issue for us as a board when we think about the future estate of our organisation. What should be provided? How do we facilitate people to work in teams and in groups, have space for association, opportunities to make sure that identity for teams are preserved, and at the same time have an agile working environment that provides confidentiality for our patients. Lots to think about, and that's what will take us a few months to bring that work to fruition. We also talked about something that's already been being thought about for well over a year, and my colleague Dermot Sinclair is leading our work to completely rewrite and revise the engagement and disengagement policy of this trust for all age mental health services. Cora Turner and Christina Harrison are going to lead some work on the physical health side of things, and that document will go live, I would have thought, in October, and it will come with a lot of monitoring and a lot of data to make sure that we're making good decisions when patients do appear to have disengaged from services, and that we take every precaution, make every effort, operate compassionately, but also rapidly to try and secure the right engagement for our patients with the services that we provide. We also, and I know this feels like I'll talk about it every week, but that's because I think it's so important, we refocused yet again on the journey to the 4-week wait. It's so important in Ardash. You know from my vlog last week, all our waiting times are now on the organisation's website. You could see them, your neighbour could see them, the person you meet when you drop off your kids could see them, and our GP colleagues could see them too. We reject as a trust the idea that if we just keep patients waiting longer, somehow health services will be cheaper. That's kind of kindergarten economics, to be honest, when you think about the cost of ill health in our country. And finally, we approved the work of the High Quality Therapeutic Care Task Force, and particularly the rollout plan that will bring some of those consistent changes into each of our wards between the middle of September and the middle of November. The details are on the screen, and if you're seeing that for the first time, please talk to your director of management team in our acute directorates, who can give you more detail and information. So there was lots more done in CLE. Those are probably just some of the highlights. I think it's really important we recognise the multi-professional leadership we have in this organisation. It is a real strength. Decisions are not made by a few of us or just by me, whatever you're told. That is not the case in our organisation. There's a real theme of innovation as we think through the next few months in Ardash. I've talked about it in terms of those QI poster contests, and entries are due in a few days' time, but it's in my mind as we go over to the virtual ward for older people's mental health services in Scunthorpe and wider North Lincolnshire, an experiment that builds from the necessity of the Great Oaks redevelopment, but also learns from the positive experiences of the virtual ward that we have for physical health service wrapped around Doncaster Royal Infirmary. Only the other day I was hearing from my colleague Richard Parker, the DRI's chief executive, how absolutely pivotal the work of our virtual ward teams has been to their success last winter and their plans for the winter ahead. So when you've got partners praising you, you're definitely doing something right. There's also innovation coming with the new community rehabilitation team, again in North Lincolnshire, that launches in the next few days. And if you have a look in forthcoming Trust Matters, you'll see right there in Cat's opening some research and some innovation from our Rotherham mental health service teams that I think is going to be really important in the organisation over the next few months as well. So there's a lot of change, as people say, but there's a lot of innovative practice that you are causing us to bring to bear. We're equally interested, of course, in using innovation to tackle inequalities. It's been fantastic as the chair of the All-Age Eating Disorders Committee for South Yorkshire to finally get adult community eating disorder teams off the ground in Rotherham and Doncaster and indeed in Barnsley to match the kind of services that have long been available in Sheffield. And fantastic too that the work that Iona and Julie and Richard and others did to get funding for enhanced services at Navigo in North East Links is now complemented by Steph Barker's advocacy and tireless work to make sure that teams across North Lincolnshire give our patients on that patch access to those services. Eating disorders is such a complex and nuanced area that can touch many of our lives in many ways, and it's really important as a system that we continue to fight to get good services in all parts of our localities. So great to see that work tackling inequalities as we go. Of course, not all innovation, not all tackling inequalities. In fact, most of it will not come just from Ardash. I spent my learning half day with the Better You team down in Grove Park opposite the DRI. This is a young people-led peer support service. It's backed by People Focus Group, or PFG, as you may know them. And it was fascinating to hear the kind of impact that service was having on people's lives, on their ability to engage with work, with volunteering here at Ardash, or indeed with school and wider education. So we will continue as an organisation to make sure that our efforts to innovate are not Ardash operating alone. I know that it's important to many people in the organisation that we speak frankly about what the experiences of working here are like. I've heard within the Trust People Council the need for absolute honesty on continued racism, for kindness, compassion, but also flexibility when line managers are thinking about working with people in their teams who perhaps have autism or ADHD. And also a real emphasis, and we'll see this when we get our new wellbeing plan out later in the autumn, not just on perhaps some of the things we've traditionally focused on with wellbeing, but making sure that we've got the basics of working in this organisation absolutely right. Have you got a space to work? Do you have the support you need administratively, and so on, all the way back to where I started this vlog with remote working. So lots going on, decisions being made, discussions being had, brilliant innovation from many people working in our organisation, and an absolute commitment both to that candour that I've spoken about in terms of racism and to tackling inequalities that we see in our service. Of course, to do that, you do need that diversity of leadership and background. So it's fantastic news that Amanda Hendry is going to join us as the Care Group Medical Director for the Rotherham Care Group. Many of you will know Amanda from her work as a liaison psychiatrist. And also Dr. Ben Allen, a local GP, is going to join our organisation as the Medical Director in the Physical Health and Neurodiversity Care Group. That does mean that by far the largest group of clinicians sitting around that clinical leadership executive table will be doctors, but I'm okay with that. I think it recognises the unique and special role that only medics can bring to our clinical conversations. Have a fantastic last few days of August. Don't forget to get those QI posters in. All the best.